David was a billionaire. He had everything, a big house, fast cars, and all the money he could ever want. But none of that mattered to him now. His heart was broken. David's only son, Michael, had died in a mysterious accident. No one knew exactly what happened, and that made it even harder for David to accept. It was a cold, rainy evening when the news came. David was at his office working late when his phone rang. The voice on the other end was shaky and urgent. "Sir, it's about your son. There has been an accident. He didn't make it." David dropped the phone. He could not believe it. His mind went blank. Tears filled his eyes. He felt like the ground beneath him was shaking. How could this happen? Michael was just 20 years old, full of life, full of dreams. The next few days passed like a nightmare. David stayed in his huge mansion, but it felt empty and cold without Michael. The rooms that were once filled with laughter now echoed. Silence. David barely ate or slept. He stared out of the large windows, watching the rain fall. It was as if the sky itself was crying with him. Friends and family came to visit, but David pushed them away. No one could understand his pain. No one could fill the space Michael had left. The day of the funeral arrived. The rain stopped, but the sky was still gray and heavy. The church was full. People whispered quietly, some wiping tears from their eyes. Everyone felt the sadness, but no one knew the real story behind the accident. David stood by the coffin holding a picture of Michael. His hands trembled. He remembered the last time he saw his son, just a week ago. Michael had smiled and said, "Dad, I'm going to change the world one day." Now, that dream was gone. After the funeral, David walked outside. He wanted to be alone, to feel the fresh air on his face. But as he stepped into the garden, he noticed someone standing far away near the old fence. It was a young girl. She looked poor, wearing simple clothes that did not fit well. Her eyes were sad but deep, as if she carried a secret too heavy for her age. David felt a strange pull toward her but said nothing. The girl did not move. She just watched him from a distance, holding something tightly in her hand. Curious and little worried, David slowly walked closer. "Are you all right?" he asked softly. The girl did not answer. Instead, she turned and walked away quickly, disappearing through the small gate. David wanted to call her back, to ask who she was and why she was there, but she was gone. That night, David could not sleep. The image of the girl stayed in his mind. Who was she? Why had she been watching the funeral? And what was she hiding? Days passed, but David could not forget her. He asked his assistants to find out if anyone knew about her, but no one did. It was like she had vanished. Meanwhile, the news about Michael's accident filled the newspapers and TV. The official report said it was a car crash. Michael lost control on a rainy road. But David did not believe it. Something felt wrong. The night before the accident, Michael had sent his father a message. It said, "Dad, I need to talk to you about something important." But David never saw the message until after Michael died. The mysterious accident, the strange girl at the funeral, and the unanswered message, all these things haunted David. He felt lost in a dark maze with no way out. One evening, as he sat in his study, David found the message again. He stared at it for a long time. What had Michael wanted to say? What secret was hidden in those few words? David made a decision. He could not stay broken forever. He had to find the truth. For Michael, for himself. But little did he know, the secret was closer than he thought. The poor girl, Sarah, was waiting for the right moment to reveal what she knew. And when she did, everything would change. Sarah was a quiet girl who lived in a small, crowded neighborhood on the edge of the city. Her home was small and old, with cracked walls and a leaking roof. Life was hard for Sarah and her family. They didn't have much money, and every day was a struggle to get food and keep warm. But Sarah was strong. She was smart and careful. She watched the world around her closely, even when she kept to herself. On the day of Michael's accident, Sarah had been near the road where it happened. She was walking home from the market when she saw a car driving very fast in the rain. The road was slippery, and the car suddenly lost control. Sarah didn't understand everything in that moment, but she saw something strange. A dark figure had been near the side of the road, someone standing too close to the street watching. Then the car crashed. Sarah wanted to help, but she was scared. The police and ambulances arrived quickly. Sarah stood back, watching, but she never told anyone what she had seen. She kept the secret because she was afraid. Afraid of what might happen if she spoke out. Afraid of powerful people who could hurt her or her family. Days later, Sarah heard about Michael's funeral on the news. She felt a heavy sadness, even though she didn't know Michael personally. But she also felt a heavy fear. What if someone found out she had seen something? What if she got into trouble? So Sarah stayed quiet. She watched the funeral from far away, her heart breaking but her lips sealed. Sarah had a small notebook where she wrote down everything she remembered from that day. It was her only way to keep the truth safe. She knew one day she might have to tell someone. But who? And when? Meanwhile, David's life was falling apart. He had no idea that Sarah held a secret that could change everything. He didn't know that the poor girl he barely noticed at the funeral was the key to finding the truth about his son's death. One afternoon, Sarah was walking near the marketplace when she saw a man in a suit. He looked sad and tired. Sarah didn't recognize him at first, but something about him made her stop. The man looked at her carefully. Their eyes met for a moment. Sarah felt a strange feeling in her chest, like hope and fear mixed together. David was trying to find answers. He had come to the neighborhood because he wanted to see the place where Michael had spent his last hours. Sarah didn't want to talk. She wanted to stay hidden, but David's kind eyes made her pause. "Do you know anything about the accident?" David asked gently. Sarah looked down, her fingers playing nervously with the edge of her coat. I saw something," she whispered. "But I can't say." David nodded slowly. "I understand, but if you ever want to talk, I'm here." Sarah walked away quickly, but she kept thinking about David's words. Maybe she could trust him. Maybe he really wanted to find the truth. That night, Sarah wrote more in her notebook. She wrote about the figure she saw by the road. She wrote about the fear in her heart. And she wrote about her hope. A hope that someone would believe her. One day, David, in his mansion, looked at the photo of Michael again. He wished his son was still alive. He wished he had more time to understand what happened. The secret was still hidden in the shadows, but David and Sarah were getting closer to the light. Days passed, but David could not stop thinking about the message Michael had sent the night before his death. The small screen on his phone showed the words again. "Dad, I need to talk to you about something important." David had never seen the full message until now. He felt a deep sadness mixed with confusion. What was Michael trying to say? Why hadn't he said it sooner? David sat alone in his study, staring at his phone. The message was the only clue he had, the only connection to his son now. Meanwhile, Sarah was also thinking about that message. She had heard that Michael had tried to contact his father, but no one knew why. Sarah's secret weighed heavily on her. She knew something about that night, something important. But she was still afraid to speak. One afternoon, David's assistant came to him with news. "Sir, we found something strange in Michael's room," she said quietly. David's heart pounded. "What is it?" The assistant handed him a small, folded piece of paper. It was hidden inside Michael's diary. David opened it carefully. Written in Michael's handwriting was a list of names and dates, and one name stood out: Sarah. David was shocked. Why was Sarah's name in Michael's diary? What connection did they have? He remembered Sarah at the funeral and her silence. Could she be the key to the truth? David decided to visit Sarah again. This time, he was determined to learn more. He found her near the old market, sitting on a bench, staring at the sky. "Sarah," he said softly, "I found this in Michael's things. Your name is here. Can you tell me why?" Sarah looked at the paper and then back at David. Her eyes filled with tears. "Michael was kind," she said. He helped my family when we were in trouble. He listened when no one else would." Sarah took a deep breath and began to tell David what she knew. Michael had been trying to stop something bad from happening. He had found out about a plan that could hurt many people, including Sarah's family, but he never got the chance to warn anyone. "I was there the night he died," Sarah said, her voice trembling. "I saw a man follow him. I think someone wanted to hurt Michael." David's face grew pale. His son had been in danger, and now the secret was coming out. He reached out and held Sarah's hand. "Thank you for telling me. We will find out the truth together." But neither of them knew how deep the danger was, or how many people wanted to keep the secret hidden.